Hi, I'm Chike Coleman, that is Sanford Hess, and this is Real Reviews Rewind, the show where we rewind the clock a little bit to look back at older films. So, this week we are covering two holiday favorites, or are they not holiday favorites? And that would be Click, directed by Frank Karachi, and The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is always known as Tim Burton Presents The Nightmare Before Christmas, making you believe the fake illusion that Tim Burton actually directed it. He did not. That movie was directed by Henry Selick. So we'll be discussing both of those holiday features today, starting with Click, which stars Adam Sandler, Kate Beckinsale, Mr. Cowbell himself. You know who that is, right?
Oh, Christopher Walken.
Yes, Christopher Walken. And basically the plot.
David Hasselhoff.
Well, I don't like to think about his role in this movie. It doesn't exist. So, Click revolves around a workaholic architect who, because of his demanding boss, which I'd rather not think about.
David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, David Hasselhoff from Baywatch and Knight Rider fame. He works for a demanding boss and never has time for his family. Doesn't have time for his wife. One day, he decides he wants to get a remote for the house. So he goes to Bed Bath & Beyond. He lays down on a mattress, looks over to his left, sees the Beyond side of the store, and a guy offers him a remote. He takes it home, uses it, TV works fine, but he also learns that the remote can work for his life as well. He can pause, fast forward, or rewind any part of his life that he wants to. And at first, it's used to very comedic effect. Well, you liked spending time with your wife and that lovemaking session you had? Guess what? You can rewind it and do it all over again. Oh, your boss is basically being a douche to you, and you really want to get your anger out, you can pause it and do as many horrible, physically violent, and sometimes grotesque things to your boss, and unpause it and watch his reaction when he feels it all.
It is an Adam Sandler movie.
It is an Adam Sandler movie. You do get those dumb jokes. And there are events that I can't reveal because it's more about the ending and the overall moral of the story that I would be giving away in spoilers if I went into. What I'll say about this is as close to, I think, audiences will get to one of three good Adam Sandler performances.
Okay.
The reason I say that is, even though the first half is all comedy, the latter second half is all emotional pathos. And he sells it well. He really works hard to give genuine emotion to these moments which would otherwise feel forced. And
does it with makeup
and
to age him.
And does it with makeup to age himself.
So I think you're right about that, though. I'm not a huge Adam Sandler fan, but I agree with you that he sells it effectively in the latter half.
He really does. Of course, the opening hijinks are there to basically suck you in, and the emotional pathos is there to keep you there, in my opinion, about this film. It's a really solidly made film, in my opinion, that, people who are, watching it with your teenage kids can enjoy. And it may even remind you to take stock of life a little more. It's like the new millennial version of It's a Wonderful Life, but with a magic remote instead of an angel saying, here's what your life would be without, making sure that the important people matter.
Right.
What did you think of Click?
I saw this movie with fresh eyes. I had never seen this movie, so for me, one of the problems that I had with the movie was that it did feel kind of stale and recycled. The same story as It's a Wonderful Life, or Scrooge, or any of these other ones where somebody goes through the process of reflecting on their life, or seeing what their life would have been like in this scenario. and then having this, opportunity to sort of reflect on that and maybe grow as a person. So it's not a bad story, and obviously it's a popular theme in a lot of things, but it felt a little stale for that. One of my other takeaways from this, because I do want to agree with you about Adam Sandler.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in the year, we watched Funny People.
Yes.
And very different Adam Sandler performance from how he usually is.
Yeah.
I bought him in that movie. I mean, I can buy this very sad and lonely or angry Adam Sandler. I think that is absolutely part of him. And I want to give him some credit for that. I think he does portray that well. I will say that just coincidentally, just a couple of days before I watched this and before you suggested it, I was showing my son and his friend Happy Gilmore.
Right. For the first time?
Yeah, for their first time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And, it's a completely different Adam Sandler performance.
Yeah.
And I think that this reflects 10, 12, 15 years, whatever, of growth of him as an actor versus what he was doing when he was first doing, some of his early movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to give him credit for that. And for that, I enjoyed. You mentioned the comedy that they found through the remote control.
Yeah.
I was actually disappointed that they didn't do more with that.
Oh, you've got to be kidding. I was really just, I wanted more. I wanted, like, the number of times where they just skip forward in the passage of time.
Yeah.
I was just like, I want to know how he got that fat. I want to know why he's in this situation.
Right.
And they just give him these medical problems, give him these issues, kind of last minute, because they've decided, well, the fast forward button is going to be our transition piece.
Right.
Every time we need something emotional to happen to the character, and that I think is a misstep.
Well, and so for me, I got to admit, so I was watching this and I thought, oh, he's got this ability with to adjust time, right? So he'll pause time. That was what I figured. He would pause time, do all of his work, which he was so stressed out about, and then go back to enjoying his family.
Yeah, but he didn't do it that way.
But he didn't do that. But I guess, on some level, that would not have been as interesting a movie.
That would have been too obvious.
Guy presses pause, guy does his work, guy goes camping with his family. So, I did feel like you, they sort of took to that. But it was interesting because at that point, like you said, the second half of the film, or probably more technically the last third of the film, moved along very quickly on purpose through the sort of storyline, leading to this conclusion. But yeah, there was, to me, I kind of felt like there was a little too much time wasted at the front end, maybe, and that they should have done more with that middle part. Because there was, now I will say a couple things I like, a little bit of a spoiler, but not too bad.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the couple of extra jokes they threw in there, like the commentary option on his life, so sort of a DVD menu.
That was great.
Yeah, that was great, and I liked the making of. I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah.
So there were some other jokes they dropped in there about the remote and things like that, but on the whole, I felt like that was kind of some wasted opportunity.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is that you feel this movie is uneven?
Well, I don't judge it in that sense. I judge movies like this in the sense of, in this one, did it make me laugh? Yeah, a little bit. Did it make me think? Sure, some. Actually, I have a question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you choose this movie as a message to me?
I did not.
Okay. Do you understand why I asked that question?
No, I do not.
So, this movie takes place and focuses on a husband and father who is stressed at work and trying to make everything work out and trying to set aside time for his career and set aside time for his family and his parents. I really empathized with this character.
Gotcha.
And I'm watching this movie thinking, yes, that I can associate with those feelings. And I started wondering, what is Chike trying to tell me?
See, this is the one instance where I'm not that clever. I chose it based on the whole Thanksgiving, Christmassy vibe, since we're entering that season, since we're now in the beginning of November.
Right.
That was my reasoning for choosing that. I was like, I need something that embodies gratefulness but isn't too heavy.
All right.
And so that's why
Mission accomplished.
That's why I chose Click. So do you like this film ultimately?
I do like this film. I would say, I think always movie recommendations have to be in context.
Yes.
So if, I think it clocks in somewhere around 100 minutes or so. So, it meets my criteria for, you're looking for something light to watch. Maybe, you don't have 2 hours. You want to jump into something and you want to, just kind of occupy your time, take your brain off your cares. Great for that. I would put the caveat out there that this movie has some jokes that are inappropriate for kids below a certain age.
Absolutely.
I think it's PG-13.
I believe so, yes.
So, I would say that, I wouldn't want to park your 10-year-old down in front of the TV and then watch this. There's a number of sex jokes.
Yes, there are.
A lot of sex jokes, actually.
Too many.
Yeah, not just the dog.
I didn't even think about the dog.
Yeah, they went to that one way too often, I feel like. That was just kind of, the dog has an amorous relationship with a stuffed animal.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Oh, man.
So they kind of went to that a few too many times. But in general, I think this movie's good light comedy. How about you? Do you recommend this movie?
I recommend this movie only for its second half. The first half is kind of useless.
Fast forward through the first half?
Yes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Fast forward through the first half of Click until he basically, let's see, what would the point be? Fast forward until he assaults his boss. After that point, watch the film. Like, watch the beginning 10 minutes and then fast forward to that bit.
Yeah, I think you can probably get the clue at the beginning. I mean, I would say you could probably skip the whole first 30 minutes. I mean, the movie kind of tips its hand pretty early as to what his life is like.
Indeed, it does. That's why I say you shouldn't have to sit through that. But I do like it, and I am positive on it, and I think people should see it. Just as a holiday revisit, if you will. Speaking of holiday revisits, the next film on our show is going to be The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Tim Burton. Tim Burton is a wonderfully, majestically, spooky, gothic director who definitely has a style and a tone with his films that are all his own. But for the love of crying out loud, don't make it look like he directed this film. He's not the one behind it. He may have had a general idea of what he wanted to do. He may have even contributed to the story, but it was directed, which means it's the vision of someone else. I don't understand why he decides to continually take the credit for a movie someone else was mostly the creative force behind.
So you're angry at Tim Burton for taking the credit, not for people who give him credit.
Because nobody knows the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas. You could ask anybody who's the director of Nightmare Before Christmas. They're going to say Tim Burton did not direct this movie. He could probably be second unit or third unit, but he did not direct this movie. He's not the one who got credit.
With that off your chest.
Yeah, that aside, would you like to give people the summary of The Nightmare Before Christmas for those of us who have not seen it?
Sure.
Go for it.
All right, put me on the spot like that. So The Nightmare Before Christmas is, first of all, it's told through stop-motion animation, which, to me, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But the story is of a sort of, there's different worlds of holiday lands, and so the story takes place primarily in the Halloween town, where Jack, Jack Skeleton?
Yeah.
Is the sort of leader of Halloween town. And the whole world revolves around Halloween. And so the movie opens, it's Halloween night, and they have a wonderful little, musical number there. Then we start to learn more about Jack, learn that he's a little dissatisfied just doing his Halloween thing once a year, once more in his life, goes on a very long walk and winds up back at the central point of a forest where you can enter into the different lands. He, after some kind of moments of indecision, chooses to open the one to Christmas Town. Or is that what it's called?
I don't...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Christmas Town. And enters into that world where, needless to say, he is...
fully inspired.
Yeah, it's just a completely different world to him. So he comes back inspired by that, comes up with this plan to then kidnap Santa Claus, take over, and basically become Santa Claus himself, searching for some kind of fulfillment. Hijinks ensue. Santa is captured after one false start. Then Jack goes and becomes Santa Claus, leading to probably my favorite part of the movie, which is the series of events that occur where he, in his sort of bizarre way, is giving out toys and gifts to the kids, but really those are not at all what they're expecting. And some great visual comedy in there, and just a lot of great little sight gags, leading to what you would sort of expect in a traditional type of TV event where things do get wrapped up in a certain way. Everybody learns the lesson and learns to appreciate a little bit more about who they are. Kind of like the moral of Click.
The odd tie together that you just pulled makes me feel like a genius film purveyor.
This time he's going to take it.
So here's the thing. The Nightmare Before Christmas, when I was growing up in the 90s, when it was popular, was not something I was really that hot on. I think it had something to do with the slow pace of the film, because it took a while before Jack actually got to the Christmas town through the tree in the forest.
Well, the movie's only 70 minutes long.
Yeah, so having to wait for that one event to be the catalyst of everything else was a bit of a stretch.
Okay.
Even if I did like all the eerie, crazy things that were going on in the Halloween town or village.
Right.
There aren't really any very specifically like entertaining voice actors here. I think Johnny Depp does the voice of Jack Skellington.
No, it's some other actor, and then Danny Elfman does the singing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I would like if Johnny Depp had done it.
I would too, because that would have made much more sense. But here's the thing. It's not a bad movie. It's not a good movie. It's just dead middle of the road for me. Mostly because even though I love all the tonal things that they did, it's really hard to empathize with anyone but Sally.
Right.
And I like how the creepiness of
Okay, so Sally, we never even talked about Sally. And I have a problem with that in a moment. Sally is a female character in Halloween Town who sort of, likes Jack from afar and helps him at several times during the time of the movie, and then ultimately there's a little bit of a romantic ending. So just to tip my hand, my problem with Sally, and this is the problem with watching these things in a sort of modern era, as a character she's completely empty. Completely empty, and not really even a damsel in distress. She's just there to assist whenever. And, so here's the only female character pretty much in the whole movie. And all she does is make food for men, take care of men, and is sort of this, not, like you said, not damsel in distress, but is sort of this quiet assistant to Jack in his process. So, I mean, it could have been a really interesting character that could have given her more to do, but basically she's just, she's blah. So, all right, so you had not seen this movie since the 90s, would you say? Yeah. Okay, so watching it with fresh eyes, what would you say?
Kids are going to love the songs. Kids are going to love the art style. They're not really going to care that much about the story. Whenever I hear anybody talk about The Nightmare Before Christmas, they always talk about the songs and the animation style. But they never talk about the story. They never talk about why they might like Sally or why they think Jack is great but weird. They always talk about the songs, proving that Danny Elfman did a really good job with all the different songs he created. And, of course, his singing, which I didn't know about until you just mentioned it. Yeah. He's got a great voice. But that's essentially what my problem is with that movie, is that it's I hate to say this, it's an empty film. A film that could have had purpose, but as you watch it go along, it's just empty. Well, so
I'm gonna sort of challenge a little bit on this. I'm not arguing that, but I believe that for the type of film it is, and I was doing a little reading on it, the making of, because I was curious about this.
Mm-hmm.
So originally, one time, it was thought about as a TV special.
Okay.
And so more along the lines of the traditional sort of holiday TV specials.
Gotcha.
So there is a certain formula to those that it sticks to.
Yes.
Much like Click has the formula that it stuck to.
Yes.
So the story, and there's not much room for story when it's 70 minutes and you've got a couple set pieces for the musical stuff.
Yeah.
Such as it is, it stays to that. I mean, here there's conflict, there's there's a protagonist, there's an antagonist, Mr. Boogie Woogie Man, or Boogie Oogie.
Yeah.
And then there's a resolution. There's conflict and there's resolution. So I mean, it does have the main points of drama. What feels missing?
Emotional weight.
Ah, okay.
Emotional weight. Yeah, you're supposed to feel a little sad for Jack that he doesn't feel like anything's going on in Halloween Town.
Yeah.
But do you really? Do you really see him getting that stepped on by the people of Halloween Town? Do you really get to see him feeling downtrodden and really needing Sally's support? No, she just kind of offers it. Like, if you look at The Lion King, what's the main catalyst of The Lion King?
Death of his father?
Right. Now, what does that do once that happens?
Pivot, it pushes the story along?
Pushes the story along, but who does he become once that happens?
Well, then you have the period where he's off growing into being an adult, and is that what you're going with?
Yeah, but that's the point. He grows into something.
Yes.
There is no change for Jack. He's like, this was better after all. Okay, guys, let's go.
Well, it's a realization. I mean, again, go back to Click. It's a gaining an appreciation of what you have, and maybe not. It's just a different message.
Yeah, but Click's hit.
Okay.
And it hit hard.
Well, but like you said, partly that was due to the emotional resonance of the second half. So I think the key point that I'm completely agree with you is that this film kind of lacks emotional weight.
So, and that's essentially why I'm saying I don't like the film. Love the music, love the songs, love the actual attempt at animation. Hate the fact that Tim Burton won't give credit to the actual director. But there's no emotional weight, whereas in Click there is.
Yeah. So
that's my problem with it.
All right, now I got to give some love to the animation.
Go for it.
So the animation in this movie, I mean, it's stop motion animation is really difficult. If you've ever tried to do it or seen people try to do it, they created these super detailed sets and super detailed characters and did these group scenes, which I can only imagine how difficult they were. Yeah, but where it pays off for me personally in watching this movie is that you accept. It's not like you're watching an animated movie. It's not like, and again, dealing with the technology in the early 90s where it was, if this had been sort of, hand-drawn animation, it would have had zero emotional heft. What helps in this case is the fact that the characters look, and here the thing that struck me the most was the shadows. They're lit in such a way that they actually look three-dimensional, and you are brought into it just in certain ways that you would not be if it was a two-dimensional type of animation style.
I would agree with you. I mean, for me, the big thing that really matters to me in this is that everything is a moving, breathing, living thing when you're in Halloween Town. Everything has a purpose and a movement, except for the emotional weight that apparently doesn't exist with this film.
What about in Christmas Town? Do you feel like there's any emotional weight in Christmas Town?
The emotional weight in Christmas Town isn't that there's emotional weight, but everything's so daggone pretty. Like, it's the ultimate contrast. And I think the joy that's radiated through there doesn't equal the misery that I'm supposed to feel in Halloween Town.
Gotcha.
Boom! Got you there with the emotional weight. So
what do you think about the fact that in Christmas Town they have police and military? Yeah, in Halloween Town, there's nothing like that.
That is a bit weird. That is a bit weird. So they got emotional weight with a Christmas beat down on that. I don't know. But yeah, I appreciate the stop motion animation. I appreciate all the art that went into it. I know Tim Burton has another film that he actually did direct called Frankenweenie, which was a short film he did in college, and maybe one Halloween we can take a look at that.
Hmm.
But for me, Nightmare Before Christmas only fails because there's no emotional weight. And for you guys, you're going to have to wait till next week until we have 2 more films to talk about, because that's all the time we have for today. This has been Real Reviews Rewind. That is Sanford. I'm Chike Coleman, and we will see you guys next time. Enjoy the movies. Bye.